Hi everyone. Hi, this is Tomasz Stanczak from Flashbots. I'll be talking today about cross-domain PBS interfaces for SUAVE. Thank you so much for invitation. Thank you everyone who's listening or who will be listening the recorded version. Let's go. So maybe first introduction of what's my story with Flashbots. Joined Flashbots in 2021 as a mate, which means like contributor, individual contributor, full time. Worked on the late MEV GAF spec, so really just specifying what was built by the great early engineering design team from Flashbots. Then working on the early MEV boost design, so the design of the PBS for the proof of stake Ethereum. Then later focused on the product management of the early Flashbots relay in the time of the MEV GAF, and then the Flashbots block builder later took over by others. Then worked on some of the SUAVE architecture components. So think of SUAVE as like many modules, like ES components, working together towards the single unified auction for value expression. And I work on some of them, and some of the research I'll present today. It's based on the recent ones that when I have been exploring the decentralization, shared sequencers, decentralizations on the sequencers on L2s mostly, and the cross-chain MEVs is something that Flashbots has been interested for a long time. We've published some of the research and kind of introduction to the cross-domain MEV in the past. So check out what Flashbots posted on the research basis in the past. And maybe as a disclaimer, so this is part of the build in the open of Flashbots. So it may present some ideas that are at the early research stage. They may not be fully reviewed by all the strategy teams at Flashbots, and this means that in some areas it may not be yet fully aligned with the Flashbots values, or even the quality of design of the research might be lacking. Nonetheless, I think that's worth to present it as an invitation to collaboration on the ideas presented, and also like to work together towards the full alignment of how we want to present all the products at Flashbots, and how do we want to achieve full alignment, as always, eliminating, democratizing, distributing MEV in a permissionless, transparent way for Ethereum and other chains. So when you think about elimination, I mean, it's we bring transparency about the past, so explaining what happened on the chain, explaining through various tools and write-ups, explaining what happens now by the real-time dashboards, monitoring tools, solutions, and explaining also what will happen in the future by educating, researching, and providing fundamental research for the blockchain community. Democratizing like the permissionless access for solo stakers, for solo searchers. When you think about the MEVCAF in the past, this was all about enabling solo searchers to access the market without any big OTC arrangements. Nowadays, through the MEV boost, that's democratizing for allowing solo stakers to access that market without having to access to join pools. And distributing. So for the solutions like MEV Share nowadays, but also through SUAVE, our like ultimate goal, distributing MEV to where it originates from, to the users, or also together in collaboration with solutions from EF like MEV Burn, distributing it across all the Ethereum holders, and also like the holders, like the almost like builders of other chains, or whoever the users are. So all these free ideas also behind what I'm calling here as a MEV garden. So we say, let's move away from the dark forest of MEV to MEV garden. So we want to start introducing solutions that are, or continue introducing solutions that are very clearly divided into components, as modular way. They create a space that is adapting to all the different market conditions and different stage of growth of various builders, participants of that market. Uh, and obviously designed for the pleasure and utility of users. So maybe one aspect of it, the bright place that defines transparency, the transparency of rules and arrangement for sure, but not the transparency of what users want to hide So privacy in all of this for sure. So some space for privacy in this garden is very important for the users to decide what they disclose about their trades and what they do not within the SUAVE ecosystem. All right, so with our design goals, to repeat some of these ideas and to introduce some new, so we want to support what, first of all, what we are building with MEV Garden. We are building a solution for connecting block proposers with block builders, but in the cross-domain market. So the same as you say, PBS in Ethereum connects the Ethereum proposers, Ethereum validators with Ethereum block builders. We want to do that for L2s, for different domains, for multiple L1s, working together and potentially enable block building for multiple chains at once. So the builders to be able to make proposals, make bids about synchronized blocks together. Now, what we want to achieve while designing the solution, we want to support multiple solutions on sequencers. So however the design is, whatever the design is coming from L2s, from L1s, about how to sequence, whether to share sequencers, whether to provide the native sequencers only, whether they are ready to decentralize or not yet. All of that should be ideally connected to the solution, to SUAVE. We want to make sure that it's all permissionless and transparent in design. So any shared sequencer should be able to join the system without any whitelisting, without any permissions from trusted operators. So maybe unlike the nowadays solution of PBS, where to some extent you think that the relays are whitelisted by participants, the design goal here is to allow anyone to join. Be in line with Ethereum protocol direction. So we do origin from Ethereum space, and we do think that Ethereum is defining much of the innovation and defining how MEV is built into protocols. So we want to make sure that we don't design something that will be at odds with the designs coming from the Ethereum Foundation or from generally Ethereum community. We want to respect the market space of various players. And this is very similar to the first goal of supporting heterogeneous sequencer space. But here we say that not only we want to support it, we want to say that we build for other builders to connect, to co-design the solution. And again, this is an invitation to research together for sure. They should be stepped towards SUAVE. So even as we talk here about something that we call MEV Garden, it's not really like that important, this name, because it should be simply a component of SUAVE and a step towards SUAVE. So it shouldn't be an alternative to SUAVE. It should be inconsistent with SUAVE. Anything that we design here should be part of this great vision of Flashbots that is this unifying all the expression of value within the context of MEV and builds a permissionless, fair financial markets on and off chain. And the last part, which is particularly important because I would say it's not fully resolved in this design, it's ensuring equal rights of solo stakers and large operators, equal rights and more like equal opportunities, because rights are the same, but the opportunities are there for the large operators to have a bit of advantage, and hence the solution might be centralizing. Not very much. You'll feel that this is not a big concern, maybe not comparable to the one that we've seen in the PBS space before PBS was introduced, but nonetheless the one that is necessarily has to be solved before we say that the solution is consistent with the values of how Flashbots designs products. And a bit of a glossary, maybe the basics. So we do separate the roles of sequencers, proposer, builders, and relays. And particularly, I'm pointing out that the sequencers and builders separation. So sequencers are those here in this context. Sequencers are those who pick the transactions and order them. Builders are the ones who really take what sequencers prepared and and wrap it up with the metadata and construct blocks out of it. So maybe further filter the data. Those two roles not necessarily have to be separated in the actual designs, but they might be. So we'll be separating those. And proposers are the ones who pick the blocks from the best blocks provided by builders and propose them to the market, right? So announce them to the chain, as it is nowadays with validators on Ethereum or in other situations. And domains is this concept that was introduced by the early cross-domain Flashbots research. So domains are either blockchains or centralized exchanges or any space which provides the opportunities for MEV creation for the state that is less or more discrete and changes over time. So when we talk about cross-domain, we can imagine that might be between the centralized and decentralized exchange, not necessarily two decentralized exchanges and not necessarily two blockchains. And the most important innovation here, not too complex, I hope, is the idea of global time, or maybe not too complex to understand, but possibly complex to implement. So the global time and synchronized proposals, we want to introduce the notion of looking at all the blockchains, all the domains together, and ordering the events there, and having a consensus on how those events were ordered across this non-unified time of different chains. And when we think about global time, the ordering of events, we show that we want to sequence events from multiple domains. It can be, as in this example, Ethereum Starknet Polygon blocks happening one after another. What we want to achieve is to say that the Ethereum block 100 happened before block 23 on Starknet, and we want all the participants of this market to agree on this ordering of events. So you have to find some solution to that, and we can propose something, but this not necessarily is easy. Might be. I think that open actually for discussion. So one of the examples that could be a set of chain observers, kind of oracles, or simply nodes that are trying to achieve a consensus that look at different chains, that are forced to observe chains and push the information about the blocks appearing as soon as they appear. So through the observation of the exchange of messages, we can do some kind of attestations to what we're observing, the same way that Ethereum is attesting to the blocks appearing and being observed in the P2P network. The same way we can build something here. Obviously, observation of multiple chains with various speeds. Think about Solana versus Ethereum and so on. This might be quite challenging, but we do want to have a simple chain of events like this. So there should be no processing, no excessive EVM operations. We just want the ordering of events. So you can imagine a construction like this built on some modern mempool solutions with modern, like the basic Narwhal plus Ball Shark solution, for example. So saying, yeah, we want to have thousands or more events every second, but not necessarily any calculations based on that. It's just a blockchain of records of what happened when. Why do we need that? We'll explain. So we need the ability to prove something for slashing and relate that to the announcements of the shared proposers or show it. So I want to define also something that I call here synchronized proposals. So when we were designing some of the early cross-domain solutions at Flashbots, we were saying that we can't do the beads on the success of transactional cross-domain execution. So we can say that as a searcher, I promise to pay if something happens transactionally, and then someone can claim that bid, claim that payment. So as a searcher, I say, if you manage to execute transactionally on Ethereum and Starknet, then I'll pay you X if those transactions land on chain. And I don't know how you do that. You have to judge if you can do that. And if you do that, then actually the chain, the SUAVE will allow you to claim the payment. Now, the thing is, what I wanted to introduce with MEV Garden is also the possibility to make some kind of credible commitment or promise about the synchronized proposal. So if you're an executor on multiple chains, how can you promise to me that you actually can do that transactionally so I feel a bit more confident about bidding? And how can I potentially slash you if you don't deliver on that promise? So I'm proposing here just like three different definitions of that synchronized proposals. Not because I think they are only free or exactly free or that one of them is perfect, but just that in the context of our discussions in research, we realized that this is not just like very clear definition that this is what synchronized means. So I'm proposing three examples, but what really is the final definition of synchronized proposal is a bit open. So here I'm saying the universal strict would be like we have a set of domains that we're looking at. Here in the example, it's Ethereum, Polygon, Starknet are three different domains. And I'm saying that the two blocks are synchronized only if they are like generally happening in a sequence after another, but there's no other block belonging to any domain in between. So in this example, Ethereum X is synchronized with Polygon Y. These are two blocks that are sequenced one after another, and the same for the last two blocks. But I already say that Ethereum X is not synchronized with Starknet Z because there's some Polygon block in between. Now, very often when we talk about cross-domain MEV we think about two domains, we don't care about what happens on other domains. So here we are very strict universally across all the domains that we could take ever into consideration in our global time assessment. So it might be really too strict. And we say that if there's any other event from any chain in between, then it's no longer synchronized. Like someone might have executed some kind of MEV extraction that changes the state of the cross-domain execution in a way that I am no longer too confident that the transactional execution on Ethereum and Starknet will be good enough because something on Polygon might have changed the opportunities. As I say, it might be too strict, but we present it. The domain strict, probably closer to how I would think about it. It says that everything is synchronized as long as there are no other blocks belonging to the same domain in between. So I'm saying here that, for example, Ethereum X with Starknet Z are actually synchronized even as there is block Polygon Y in between, because I don't care about the domains outside of the domains that I'm considering in my cross-domain proposal, synchronized proposal promise. But I would say that the Polygon Y is not synchronized with Ethereum X plus 2 here. Why? Because there is some other Ethereum block. So I want to say that synchronized blocks are only the ones that within the same domain are after another, and there should be anything in between. And even less strict synchronized proposal definition is the one that says, well, there might be multiple blocks belonging to the same domain. So like Ethereum X is synchronized here with Starknet Y plus 1, even as there's a Starknet Y block in between. But what I'm blocking, like what I'm removing from the definition of synchronized is that there shouldn't be any other like pair of synchronized blocks in between. So Ethereum X here is not synchronized with Starknet Y plus 2 because there's some other pair of Starknet Ethereum blocks synchronized in between. So I'm saying that, well, I feel that I can extract something transactionally as long as there is no other opportunity to extract something transactionally in the same domains, which would totally lock me out of the ability to execute MEV extraction in a predictable way. As I say, this is not super strict definition. You can think of your own how you would like to say that something is synchronized. Why do we need those synchronized proposals? We'll start talking about the messages being exchanged between builders and proposers. So in Ethereum PBS, we have the builders, we have also the proposers, so the validators, and they talk to each other through the relay. And in the current design, the relay is the trusted party in between. The ePBS, so enshrined PBS in Ethereum assumes that the relay disappears, that actually solution doesn't change much because you still have the builders and the proposers collaborating. But instead of using the relay, there is some set of attestations and staged attestation and P2P communication that allows agreement on what the best bids between the builders are and how to keep the proposers to their promise and potentially slash them on non-execution, on non-delivering the promise. So we remove the relay, you remove the trusted component from in between. And we remember that design goal from the beginning of the MEV garden, which says, well, you should be in line with Ethereum protocol direction. So now we say that whatever communication between the proposer and builders about the synchronized proposals I would like to have, the messaging between those two parties, between the cross-domain builders and cross-domain proposers, the messaging should be not necessarily through the relay. The design should allow for the P2P based communication. And I think we should intuitively see that, that there should be requirement for the relay that might be slightly more difficult because you don't have the same level of attestations. But with the global time, that we mentioned, it should be possible. Now, this cross-chain PBSs, as we introduced this cross-domain proposer-builder separation, we add in communication from proposer to builders, not only from builders to proposers like nowadays. So nowadays we have builders announcing the bids, announcing the best blocks, then it goes to the relays, or through the P2P communication goes to the proposers. Proposers select the best block and announce it. And here we say that not only this direction, but also proposers communicate with builders back. They announce that they are about to propose something in a synchronized way. So we have those synchronized proposal announcements, and they should be ideally delivered and announced and included on the global time. And why on global time chain? Because you need to potentially be able to slash the proposer on failure of delivery, failure on the promise, right? So you're failing to deliver the promise. And why do we use this communication? Why we use the global time chain? Just to make sure that it can be permissionless and transparent. So the proposers can join and announce whatever they want, and they should be slashable. So there should be some deposit. You can imagine that it might be in the form of the eigenlayer deposit. So the restaking, and anyone can join if you can verify that they actually made a deposit. It's transparent. It's included on that chain. This is an example of a proposal where I say I'm announcing a proposer, and there is a specific slot, like some time that I sequence, and I have a set of domain proposals that define a domain and domain slot ID, so some number on chain. And when I estimated my expression of global time or something, so sequence or datetime when it would happen, and I say that maybe I'm proposing according to some rules of synchronization. So I'm saying that there is like universally strict announcement that I will propose on Ethereum and Polygon, for example, at the same time. And I say that maybe a minute ahead. So now the builders have this announcement. They can check that it exists on the global time. And they may start preparing the bids, and they know that I'll be slashed if I don't deliver. So they start to be a bit more confident to set the blocks. So if me as a proposer, if I accept the blocks, then I have to deliver those. And the same as I include my announcements on global time, also the bids with the headers can be announced on global time, and my commitment to the headers can be announced on the global time. So we can have the same properties of the commitments as in Ethereum PBS, where I say I'm about to publish that block, so I sign that header. So you give me the body of that block, the details of the block, the transactions, so I can actually announce it. And if I don't announce it, I get slashed. What can be the types of proposers? So as I mentioned, we want to respect all the players in the market. So whether these are shared sequencers, native sequencers, they can all participate in those announcements. Shared sequencers should be much more confident about doing any like shared proposals. They may be absolutely sure, like 100% probability that whatever they will announce, they will not be slashed. In some cases, they might be randomly being chosen on different chains and sharing that with other sequencers that are competing with them. In those cases, they will maybe judge whether they want to risk slashing or not. Like, what's their level of confidence in particular unit of time that they'll produce the blocks that will be synchronized, that will be next to each other, sequenced in the global time. And again, like whether these are centralized or decentralized sequencers, they can all make these announcements. Nobody is whitelisting them, nobody is blocking them. They should be allowed. So here you have an example of this global time when actually I'm indexing events and somebody announces that they're about to propose synchronized Ethereum and StarkNet N+1, that they approve some bid for these two blocks with some hash. And since they approved and announced, both of those events can be slashable against their deposit through Eigenlayer or some other solution. And if it's slashable, then the bids can be protected the same way as they are nowadays protected with the slashing condition on Ethereum. So this design goal, it should be step towards SUAVE. So as I mentioned, on SUAVE, we have designs for these beads to be payable on successful execution, but we didn't have maybe the design on how to slash on a promise and the executor telling that there is some specific probability of execution. So me as a searcher, as a cross-domain searcher or builder, I can feel a bit more confident. So it adds a piece of SUAVE like on the side of proposers, making similar commitments like on the side of bid makers, on the searchers. So now we have both sides actually trying to communicate of how much they can achieve and what kind of promises they make. And that last call that I mentioned that it's not resolved, and notice it here. So if I'm about to make announcements about the synchronized proposals, then the larger my stake is onto different chains, the more likely I am to have synchronized proposals. So the more often I will be benefiting from the extra bids, extra payments to me from the searchers. If I'm a solo staker, then I cannot do that on multiple chains because I'm not probably not staker on multiple chains. So I would have to team up with someone or just give up and join the large operator, large pool that can actually synchronize this across many chains that they are operating. So there should be a solution when me as a solo staker can dynamically exchange messages with some other solo stakers and together make commitments to the synchronized proposals. So what is required, first of all, we need to define this communication between proposers, something that is reliable and again, it would have some promises. But then the question is about the splitting the payment from the cross-domain block builder, cross-domain sequencer, about how exactly I'm paying to the proposer on chain A and chain B. So this should be doable. This should be easier part. Maybe slightly harder is the slashing target. So if I don't deliver my promise, who is really slashed? If I'm teaming up with as a proposer on Ethereum, if I'm teaming up with a proposer on Polygon, the who will be slashed if we don't deliver that promise? That's a good question. And well, so that's why this has to be answered. So within the roadmap, think about this collaboration of the multiple proposers has to be resolved, and and also making sure that this design really answers the questions from the shared sequencers and whoever builds sequencers. So it all has to work together to satisfy the goals of how Flashbots builds the products. It's very early, it's building in the open. It's just a research, potentially component would be dropped, never delivered, or maybe something that would be fundamental component of SWAV. Thank you so much.